So Gary was asking me, why do I care about synthetic data? Well, he probably doesn't. What is it used for? Well, it's used for a variety of things. And I may have touched on it on the first video, but you can use it for testing. So if you're building a new application, and this is just a spreadsheet, if you're building a web application or a software-driven application for a variety of things, production, manufacturing, accounting, it doesn't really matter. You can use synthetic data to produce data to test your application or your tool. In some cases, you could use already existing data, but when you get into the areas of personally identifiable information, or PII, in the healthcare system, or Social Security, or in the military, or anything that's around Social Security number and privacy laws, that gets a little illegal, and it's really not safe to do. So if you're going for data based on people, it's better to use a fake set of data so you can generate data. And that was kind of what I did with generating the addresses, is coming up with those sets of people. So in this particular example of why and how you could use synthetic data, I came up with sales generation. So I'm randomly creating a date in the year of 2013. So it's, I'll zoom in really close so you can see the dates for January the 1st and December 31st. This is the Microsoft date for dates, or the Microsoft number for dates. And so then we can generate numbers between those two. And what I did was I put those in, and I just referenced those two cells for this random between. And I used F4 to put these dollar signs in to make it, this is the way it normally looks, and that's called a relative reference. And it would, as we move this formula around, so would these references. If you hit F4 once, you get a concrete reference, and it only looks at those two cells, regardless of where you move it on the screen. If we go one more time, it locks in row 2, so the column can change as you move the formula around. And then this looks only at column B as you move around, and it looks at whatever column as you move the formula around. So I'll make those concrete references or absolute references. And so now we're generating random dates between January 1st and December 31st. And I did the same thing with sales. I generated some, or I'm producing some random numbers, and I decided to get kind of fun with it. I did multiple steps of random numbers in here. So I did between 5 and 20, and then I did between 1 and 5. And then I multiplied that by 2. Why? Just for the heck of it. Because most random numbers generated in most applications like Excel actually base it off of the computer clock, and it's based on milliseconds. So it's really hard for us to tell, even if you were to hit refresh and click, it would be really difficult for us to tell that it's being refreshed based on the milliseconds, because we're talking about thousandths of a second based on CPU clock. So this is a way to take a couple of numbers, put them together, slap them together using some multiplication to make them a little bit more random. Okay, so I'm doing random dates, random sales, and then all I'm doing here is pulling out the month from this date. So I've got a number 1 through 12. And then over here in my quote-unquote application, as I make bunny rabbit ears to the microphone, in my application here to test, what I've done is I've said for our human eyes, I put January, February, all the way through December. And then above that, only for Excel, I put in the numbers 1 through 12 to represent the month, which equates to the data that we have in column F. Okay, so based on the data that we have over here, scroll over just a bit. There we go. Screen's jumping around. I put in a formula that says sum if s. So it lets me look at I don't think I needed multiple criterias, but we're looking at we're going to sum column E, and we're going to look for the data that's in column F to equal what's in this cell in row 1. So if anything in column F says 1, then we're going to add the numbers from column E. So in this case, $42, and there's not another one down here, but it would be 42 plus the other ones that are down there to get the sum for the month. So we can say multiples for the month of 12, which is December, 18 and 90 and 16. So we add those together for the month of December. Just to be fun and to check my math, I did a min and a max of the sales numbers. And so again, going back to the random numbers, the sales were being generated between 5 and 20, and then multiplied by 1 and 5. So 5 being the minimum, multiplied by 1 is going to be 5, times 2 would be 10, and that gives us the maximum, or the minimum. And then if we take 20, multiplied by 5, that's 100, times 2, that gives us 200. So this is just a way to double check the math. And so why do we care about testing this? We're not particularly doing anything exciting with this. Let's see, I'll scroll out or zoom out a little bit, and I'll jump to the bottom. We have 500 records that are being randomly generated. So how can I test my data? So I'm going to put a cell here, and I'm going to say sum, and I'm going to add all those numbers together. And it comes to 37,732. And this is going to get just a little scrunch, but I just thought this would be something that I could do to show. And this is how a lot of people check their applications. Pull this up to make a pretty picture. So this cell is testing the data set, and this cell is testing what's being returned. So if I miss anything, let's say for example, I'm missing a set of data from February, bad formula or something along those lines, we can see that these two numbers are not the same. We can even take this a step further, and we can say equals this, and we get a false. And that's kind of a check. That's a way that we test our data. So what I'll do is I'll put that formula back in there, and it recalculates, and it says that it's true. Additionally, so we know that this part of the tool is correct. We verified that we do have matching numbers. We have verified that based on the random formulas that we've created, these are actual. That is factual. And then we've created a chart, and it's charting the sum for each month in this pretty little picture. And if we want to cycle through to see if any changes, we don't make any changes, we can recalculate by hitting F9 on the keyboard. And it doesn't look like we run into any problems. We could also change any of the criteria, so that would also cause it to recalculate. Let's see, we could add add an element, and we'll do trend line and just do linear. Okay, so it seems pretty flat because these are all random, and it kind of works out in the mix. If I hit F9 again, ooh, it drops a little bit. Trend line's going up, it's going up, it's going down, going up, it's going up, it's going down. So this allows you to cycle through many iterations of your data to see if there are any problems with the tool that you've created. So this is relatively simple for sales calculations on a monthly basis, and then ultimately for the year. Additionally, I've tied a chart to it to again test the chart against the data, against the tools and the calculations up at the top versus the synthetic data that we've captured. Now we could take this, and there's not a lot of it, from here over, we could take this and apply this to real sales numbers with a 99% confidence level, 99% accuracy. We're not seeing any inaccuracies in the way that the math is working, or all the formulas seem to be working. The chart seems to be working. So we have tested this tool with our synthetic data. Hope that helps out, Gary. Other applications that don't relate to what's on the screen in manufacturing, you could put in fake data into a system to see, what spits out of it. Production, healthcare, you could generate synthetic data based on illnesses, death rates, drug test results. You could basically do other tests off of income or education or age or gender or the cars that somebody drives, how many miles on a car, how old is the car, so randomly pick a car, pick the year the car was manufactured, randomly produce how many miles on the car. You could then calculate based off of that how many sets of tires they would have had and how much income could you have had if you'd sold all those tires to all those people. So lots of different applications. I find generating data to fill in tools for testing it's a lot of fun for me. I don't do a great number of tool development anymore. I do some mild analysis, but in earlier parts of my career, I did, and it was a lot of fun. Do it with students' grades. You can do it with projections, forecasts of budgets and grades based on students in attendance. Based on your attendance percentage, this is the grades that you can anticipate receiving based on historical data. Well, what if you just randomize that? Does that support your hypothesis? Until you get enough historical data to actually fill in your model. So some fun stuff, very nerdy, but this kind of stuff is what keeps paying my power bill? Or is that my wife? Either way, there. I hope that explanation helped.
Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it.
Too many hobbies, not enough time.
It's a theme song, y'all.